So last weekend at the Pro Series, there was a bit of drama, not involving me, thankfully. There was a kind of miscommunication, whatever you want to call it, involving the TD, and the players concerned wanted different resolutions in it. All just seemed to get a bit out of hand, to be honest. Now, me and Lomax did speak about it when we recorded, and I've been going back and forth on whether to post this really, because at this point we all should just be moving on. But I've had multiple messages asking my opinion and whether we spoke about it, etc. So I am going to post it, clearly, because I'm recording an intro. But this is the end of it for me. I won't be speaking or commenting or replying anymore. But here you go.
Your diplomatic answer
to the elephant in the room of Mary and Danielle
Yeah.
this week. Well, first and foremost, I think we both have to state that obviously we both respect the players, both on a personal level and a playing level. You know, the two of the best women on the UP circuit. Two people that I actually enjoy talking to. You know, we consider mates. So let's start first and for all. And I think it's a perception thing. So I think neither player is wrong, because if you speak to them and you look at it from their perspective and you listen to how they have seen it, how they think it, then they're both correct. So I don't think either player is wrong.
Yeah.
Now that might not make sense to a lot of people, because they'll be like, well, it's one situation, two people have reacted very differently. But like I said, you've got to get into the minds of other people, not just how you see it.
Yeah.
So if you look at how Mary's seen it, she's not wrong. If you look at how Danielle's seen it, she's not wrong. So I don't think either player is wrong. And I think that's really important for people to understand. What I categorically do believe is that I think, and I don't mean the UP particularly in this situation, I mean every organisation, whichever, because it's happened to me on a personal level, you know, at events, I'm sure it's happened to numerous players. The owner should never be put on the player.
Yeah.
I think the organisations need to just, you know, the decision is there, the rule is there, and that's the end of it. And then we don't get these situations that kind of arise.
Yeah.
And I don't think it'd be really fair to talk about it any much more than that. From my point of view, because like I said, I don't think, in terms of how both of those players looked at it, I don't think either of them were wrong in their mind, and I think that's how you have to look at it.
Taking away not commenting on the player perspectives, but do you think, like, I wonder if the TD, specifically at UP, actually gets enough support, or whether there's a bit, like, it was a mistake, it was a fuck up, right? It happens. But was there, for example, when he was out trying to deal with it, nothing else was happening. No matches were going on. What was going on? Why not?
Yeah, it was kind of a standstill then, wasn't
yeah.
it? Yeah. So potentially not, and you know, and again, we've talked about this before, but it's easy for us to relate to one situation, one tour. You know, these guys are trying to run a comp with, you know, 1,000 players in there that are all running at the time. So,
and that shouldn't, not that there isn't a TD team, there is, but one guy seems to be very much the one that gets the grief.
Yeah.
And I don't think it should be like that. And again, that is a very judgmental outside perception, but that's the way it comes across when you're at events.
Yeah, and like I said, you do it correctly. But again, that is why that TD is there in terms of that title, and that is the go-to person. People know that. But again, if we just start implementing rules as a black and white thing, again, that takes the pressure off that event. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, there was an error made.
It happens.
It happens, and it probably wasn't rectified in the correct manner. Whereas again, I just think if there is no, if it is just is what it is, then everybody knows, and we don't get into a situation that was kind of, you know, it wasn't pleasant to see either. You know, it wasn't pleasant to see, you know, players upset, players worked up, you know, because you're never going to get the best out of either of them. Yeah, like I said, I don't think either player was in the wrong in their mental look at it. So,
but I think off the back of neither player was wrong. I fully agree with that. Can see both perspectives, but I do think, I think if I was in that situation, I'd like to think I wouldn't have been quite so stressed out by it. I think there was a way the players could have both approached it that would have had a more positive result for both of them. In terms of, you know, Danielle then had to go, however it came about that Danielle went through, she was then straight on the TV table. Once you're in that situation, how are you meant to perform out there? It's
exactly.
I don't know how.
And I think that's something that's a question, or you know, a thing that's for someone that's much more qualified than me in terms of the mental side of the game. But you know, because you can't, either player then couldn't play their best. You just can't once you're in that kind of headspace, and you know you're not happy, you're not comfortable, and you're second guessing yourselves, and you know it's just a bit of a mess.
But the
You
mental
can-
side of the game is so important. So I
of course
think
it is.
you can have an initial reaction, like we all do in the heat of the moment, but you have to find ways to get over it,
Yeah.
don't you? And it may be quicker than happen. I think it kind of, and the rest of us don't help, do we? Because we're all talking about it, we're all looking at
And
it,
it's
we're
all
all
being
being
fueled,
nosy, and then
of
we all blow
course.
it all
Yeah,
into a massive
absolutely.
situation that it doesn't need to be, and then people post unhelpful things online.
Yeah, and again,
that
that's
definitely
another
didn't
thing that
help.
isn't again always helpful. Like, it's not going to stop because that's what
Yeah.
people do. It's also we all read it,
Mm.
and that's just the same as news, the press.
Yeah.
And again, probably what isn't fair is when people put up a one-sided version of something without getting both sides of the story. That's
Yeah.
probably a little bit, well, it's very biased and it's probably a little bit unfair.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of like I said, the mental part, then yeah, again, let's go back to when someone does a fluke against you. You either let it bother you or you don't, because if you do, it's going to be worse. So, but again, that's very easy to say when you're an outsider looking in a situation.